Welcome in, brand new Jock Market Power Hour for this week's Scottish Open. I'm Rick Gaiman, that right there, Joe Idoni. Joe, good to see you. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, man. I hope my connection is okay. I'm live from the Blue Ridge Mountains of the woods of North Carolina. So yeah, I hope the connection holds up, but excited to do another power hour with you, pal.
I love that. Yeah, we are at it again, and we've got a good one. There was, just a moment we were like, oh man, are we going to get Scottish Open or are we going to get Barbasol? What version of this are we going to get? Happy to announce we did indeed get the Scottish Open market for tonight, the co-sanctioned event. We got the good one, bud.
Yeah, we pushed hard for it, and the guys delivered. So we're pumped for it. Actually, it's kind of unique. It starts in a couple hours, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. So if you're watching while we're live, this thing starts in 6 hours. If you're watching after us being live, it starts a lot sooner than that. So yeah, this is basically the shortest time we've ever had from IPO to the market starting. But that is, for other sports in the jock market, it usually starts like right away. Golf usually has the largest delay anyway.
Yeah, totally. That's the norm. Sometimes even for Monday night football games, it's 5 minutes before kickoff, it will close. So yeah, I'm excited for this. Obviously, we gonna set the alarm clocks early. I'm sure you've already got them dialed in there out on Vegas time, but we get this swing the next 2 weeks where we get lengthy, unpredictable weather. Hopefully, becomes a factor at some point in both tournaments. I'll talk to you more later about that as well. I want your thoughts on it. But excited for this stretch. We've got an incredible field both this week and obviously next week at St. Andrews.
Yeah, it's a real treat to have 14 of the top 15 players in the world the week before a major championship. This feels a lot like a major championship in its own right. If you're just stumbling in here and trying to figure out what the heck is going on, we're playing stock market DFS. It's the jock market. So right now, you can go over to Jock Market, you can open up the app, or you can go to the web version and you can bid on shares of golfers. And right before 9 o'clock Eastern time, this IPO phase is going to close. If you're one of the high bidders, shares are allocated to you. And then we get into the live trading version. But Joe, there are guaranteed payouts. That's the key here. The guaranteed payouts based on the finishing position of all of these golfers. That is what drives how valuable a share of a golfer could be.
Absolutely, yeah. It's on a spectrum. Basically, finishing first through all the way through the cut line is going to pay out a dollar amount incrementally better. Last week, fortunately for myself, had some JT Poston shares who cashed out first place and a final payout of $25 per every share. You see there, the IPO went for $6.75. Paid out $25 on every single share. That happens to the first place finisher each and every week here on Jock Market.
Yeah, there you go. And even if you didn't have Poston, if you were a buyer of someone like Christian Bezuidenhout and you paid $7.16 for him last week, paid out $20 a share thanks to that runner-up finish. So you made nearly $13 a share on Bezuidenhout. I'll give you another example. Denny McCarthy, $8.30 in IPO last week, finished at $15 a share. So lots of different ways to make money here in the jock market. If you haven't deposited yet, the code that you're looking for, it's POWER. It's up to $100 deposit match. There's also a link in the description there for you as well. But yeah, you're coming off a pretty nice week, Joe. I think you're flush with cash for this little coffee golf swing.
Yeah, I got a little bit of extra funds in the accounts. We'll see what we can do this week. We've got a nice mixture of some PGA Tour staple players that we're used to seeing who have made the voyage over to the Renaissance Club in Scotland in North Berwick there. And we got some interesting guys that traditionally play on the DP World Tour that I don't really know as much about. And I have a feeling many Jock Market users, since it is only available in the United States, may be a little less familiar on as well. We'll look for you for some guidance on a few names throughout the show, but presents an interesting opportunity this week should you choose wisely, as it kind of does every week.
Yes, it's a fascinating little game that we've got going on over here, and to see kind of the ebbs and flows of how the pricing works and what people are willing to do, because it's the only place that I know of, Joe, at least in the fantasy golf community, where we learn the actual sentiment on golfers on a Wednesday night. If you want to call it ownership when a contest locks in other DFS sites, that's fine. But we are going to learn where people are willing to put their money right now. The next 40 minutes, we're going to learn it.
Yeah, we've got more users than ever to draw those stats from on Jock Market, now competing every week. So the growth has been phenomenal there. Love to see you guys commenting along in the chat. Thanks for joining us once again. And let's get it going, buddy.
Yeah, let's get it going. So we're going to play a game called Bullish or Bearish. This is a segment where Joe and I get to take a stand on 4 different golfers. And if there's someone in the chat that you'd like to, or drop in the chat if there is a golfer that you would like to see us really hone in on. But Joe, I've got 4 written down here. Let's start with someone who has been very, very good and is likely to be very, very popular tonight, Xander Schauffele. Now, we are using a fair value price on Xander tonight, who's the 6th ranked golfer at $8.42 a share. That's his fair value based on kind of the outright market and the top 5 market, top 10, so on and so forth. That would ask him to finish about 16th or better. So I ask you, are you bullish or bearish on Xander Schauffele?
It's pretty interesting, Rick, with Xander, because he went so long without a win, and it felt like he was always like 5th or 6th on the pre-rank, right? And he got this win. He obviously won the JP McManus as well, and nothing really changed, it feels like to me, as far as like the sentiment around Xander. It was always whether it was a sports book or Jock Market or DFS, it always felt like people knew his potential. So he's kind of leveled out. I do feel like there's a little bit of value in there. I'll take the bullish side. I love the confidence that he's continued to play with. He's really striking his irons well. He seems like the type of player to me that his game can really transfer anywhere on any type of course, drop him in any part of the world, and he's set up to play well. He's got some putting confidence back as well. Obviously, the monkey off the back is a big thing there. So 16th or better, it's probably right on that line for me, Rick, of in between, but I'll take the bullish side a little bit more there.
Yes, I will as well. He's earned you a profit in 7 of his last 10 cash markets. His average ROI is 29%. The big thing is this does not even include his Zurich Classic win, because that was not a individual PGA stroke play event. So we didn't have a Jock Market market for that. So this would be even better if you were including that market in it as well. I think the Renaissance Club is going to ask for basically control in all facets of your game. And Xander, I think, has that. And I think he's got a little bit of confidence brewing right now. So I will also take the bullish side on Xander Schauffele. We talked about pre-rank, and that's important, Joe, because the pre-rank determines how ties are broken. And our next golfer is the number 1 pre-ranked golfer. It's Justin Thomas, which means he will break all the ties. If there is a 9-way tie for second, JT is getting the full share, which is important. And with that comes a very big fair value price for tonight, $10.09 a share, asking JT to finish 11th or better. Bullish or bearish on Justin Thomas?
I'm going to take the bearish side, but this is a scary one for me for one real reason. Obviously, the current form for him is fantastic, but if you sort of zoom out and look at his history leading into major championships, he traditionally, this is always a weird week, right, for handicapping and trying to predict player outcomes the week before a major. We've seen some weird things happen in the past. JT's very good the week before. 5th at the Byron leading into that win at the PGA Championship. 3rd in Canada leading into the U.S. Open. He has 2 career PGA Tour victories the week before the major. So he's very good in that format. That said, weird things can happen on really exposed links courses, and you can catch a bad, not even draw, you can catch a bad like hour that can totally ruin your round. And he hasn't really, I looked at his Open Championship record. I don't believe he has any finish inside the top 10 at the Open Championship in his career. This is scary for me because of how well he's playing, but I will side on the bearish for Justin Thomas.
I believe I will as well. And I think when you start to get into double digits of share price, Joe, you really start to cap your upside. Even if a golfer like Justin Thomas, who is certainly capable of going out and earning you $12 a share, as he did at the Hero World Challenge and the Tournament of Champions and in Phoenix and 1150 at the Masters, like, I think the small potential profit that we are going to get a lot of the time is not necessarily worth kind of getting wiped a little bit if, God forbid, he does miss the cut and gets the wrong end of the draw, or if he just finishes T20 third. So I think when you start to get into that really high end price, I start to get a little scared. And now you've got just an unbelievably stacked field that JT could play well and finish ninth. JT could play well and finish 17th. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it's a really big ask for anybody, and I'll take the bullish side on Justin Thomas.
Okay.
Next up, a guy that I've described as the X factor for this week, which is maybe going a little bit too far, but it's Cam Smith. And he is $7.30 a share in our fair value projections, which is a top 20 for Cam Smith. I'll just start here, Joe. I'm bullish, right? Last 24 rounds, he's leading the field in strokes gained approach. He's not putting well. That usually does not last very long with Cam Smith. Am I worried about a big wayward left miss off the tee? Yes, but that is no different than like I've been worried about that for the entirety of 2022, and he's got 2 wins and he's been awesome. So I'm just kind of saying Cam Smith's going to putt well soon, and I want to be there when it happens.
That makes total sense. Just to sort of play devil's advocate here, I'll take the bearish side. I am a little bit worried that he's sort of lost something off the tee. Now, I get links golf can sort of mitigate that, and it's a different style, and he should have some familiarity playing in these, I guess, general type of golf courses, coastal, linksy, windy, growing up over there in Australia. I'm worried the confidence with the putter has dipped a little bit from where it was back around March when we saw it sort of peak at the Players' Championship there. I'll take the bearish side and just kind of hope that I don't get burned with a top 20 finish out of Cam Smith.
Okay, last one here. We could not have a Scottish Open without talking about Ricky Fowler, who we have tonight as the 58th pre-ranked golfer. His fair value is $4.26. That's 40th or better. 40th or better for Ricky. Can he get the job done?
Yeah, he can finish 40th or better. I think he can. I'm going to take the bullish side, believe it or not. I know that I've been hard on this show oftentimes on Ricky. He's got a little bit of magic over here. He's 4 for 4, and I believe he's played 5 times in the Scottish Open. He has 4 top 10s, including a win. Now, that was at a different golf course, I believe at Aberdeen or one of those, but a win is a win, right? 7 for 7 in cuts at the Open Championship recently. The form incoming is questionable, but he seems to find something on links golf. And the motivation for Ricky, I think you'd book the flight over there with your boys nice and early, hoping to get into the Open Championship. I believe top 3 in terms of guys who aren't currently qualified will get into the field next week, or a top 10 finish. Those are his ways to St. Andrews. That's his path. If the price stays right there at 40th or better, I'm going to bet on him and say bullish.
Yeah, I think it's top 3 inside the top 10 that are not previously exempt, I believe, are the spots that are available. But
you have to do both. You have to top 10.
That's what it was at the John Deere.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is at the Scottish Open, but don't quote me on that. I'm like 85% sure. Okay. I'm not even going to say much. I'm just going to show his profile here. Last 20 markets, Ricky's been a loser in 16 of them. Ricky's losing you 14.8% ROI. This looks more like my retirement account than something I'd like to see in the jock market. Listen, I hope I'm wrong here. I want Ricky to be great more than anybody, but I'm not sure there's evidence of that. Maybe it's the spark he needs to go play this event that he's had success at. And I was behind him, dude. I was behind him at the range at the US Open where he was first alternate. And like every 5 minutes, someone was coming up and giving him an update. And it's like, is he in yet? Is he in yet? Like there's definitely a lot of motivation there, but I cannot invest my hard-earned American dollars on Ricky Fowler tonight.
See, this is why we have a good show together, man, because I let the narratives and the cute little storylines do the talking in my head, and you just let the data and the numbers sort of speak for themselves and tell the story.
Always fun. Now, listen, we've got oh man, this market's heating up in a big way. So I'm going to show you the big board, which is our live pricing tool here in just a second. But remember, if you haven't deposited yet, you can go use Power. That code will get you a $100 deposit bonus. Now there's a link in the description. If that's easier than typing in 5 letters, have at it. And Joe, before I unveil the big board, when you've got as many great players in this field as we do this week, who do you think will be the king of the market tonight?
I think it's going to end up being either Justin Thomas or Scotty Scheffler. If I had to pick one right now for me, I feel like it's going to be Justin Thomas.
Okay. Well, we will keep an eye on that. But as of right now, Scotty Scheffler is out front.
Yes.
$9 a share. Now, it's 8:31 p.m. on the East Coast, which means we've got 25 minutes or so. So this is obviously going to change. Scotty Scheffler's fair value tonight is $9.37. He's the second pre-ranked golfer. I'm out of adjectives, Joe. I don't know how to continue to describe the play that Scotty Scheffler has had this year. Would you like to take a crack at it?
It's remarkable. What he's done in nearly every facet of the game is both unconventional and unmatched so far this season. It doesn't look like we thought the top player in the world who's going to win 4 or 5 times in a season would necessarily look. And I mean that in regards to the golf swing. Some things are a little bit unusual with the sliding foot, and it looks like sometimes he's kind of holding things off. But that stuff kind of works on links kind of golf courses, and he's got a creativity and a confidence to match. He's just been awesome, and the markets don't lie there. Now he is 50-50 in terms of whether he's turning you a profit or not in the last 20 markets, but you can see when he pops, he goes big.
I would have lost a bet on that. If you said, out of his last 20 markets and set the line at like 13, how many markets has he turned you a profit in? I would have probably taken the over. I'm shocked to see it's 10 and 10. Now, it's big returns when he does, and this does not include his match play victory.
Right.
But man, I'm actually surprised to see it 10 and 10.
Yeah, very few. Looks like only 2 missed cuts there in the last 20. So even when those ones that he's losing, the majority of them are still paying off relatively close to even on your dollar. But you have the upside that we all know exists with Scotty Scheffler and the top end talent that is that $25 per share payout, which he's been able to get you frequently this season.
Certainly has. Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas, Jon Rahm lining up behind 795, 777. 779 and 777 respectively. We talked about JT. We talked about Xander. Let's talk about Jon Rahm because Joe, I feel like he is also like weirdly not getting the respect he deserves. The one win in Mexico, we all kind of brushed off because it was the Mexico Open. He was by far the best player in the field. He faded on Sunday at the US Open. What's the current state of the union on Jon Rahm?
I don't know if maybe it's like it's grown a little tiresome, and we just are so used and familiar for him being so good, and he hasn't got the victories necessarily to back that up besides Mexico, which was kind of a given with the strength of field. We haven't seen him really contend in a whole lot of other tournaments late on a Sunday outside of that, particularly the major championships, which have been surprising to some. So anytime you insert a strength of field to this degree, yeah, it's a little bit worrisome. At the same time, we know the talent level of Jon Rahm is #1 player in the world, and the upside is there for him, and he can get back to that at any point. Would it surprise me one bit if he goes slightly overlooked this week and ends up winning? No.
Jon Rahm also 10 wins, 10 losses in his last 20 cash markets. That's certainly of note. Cam Smith already up to 675. How about this one? I do not necessarily know what to do with Matt Fitzpatrick coming off the big win at the US Open. He's been phenomenal for months. Do we want to play the narrative US Open hangover game at all?
I think we're far enough away from that where I'm not going to factor it in, Rick. I believe he had a good finish at this event last season. Got that. What was it?
I think it was runner up. Was it last year or the year before? I'll find out.
I think it was last year. It was either a second or third last year. But yeah, look, he got the monkey off his back in terms of PGA Tour, and we know he's had a prowess, and that hasn't necessarily been a problem with him on the DP World Tour. Yeah, I think the confidence is there. He's picked up a little bit of distance, which I think exaggerates that to a degree, and just helps him feel like there isn't a golf course on the planet that he isn't ready to take down. And he's playing really good golf, and he's so consistent, which even before that win in the jock market, his ability to finish ninth, fifth, fourth, second, fifth, and just kind of bounce around inside that top 10 was consistently returning you solid money on every dollar that you put into him on jock market.
It was indeed a runner-up finish last year, so
Okay.
confirmed that. The only other guy, and I'll refresh this in a second, above $5 a share at the moment is Will Zalatoris, who has just been phenomenal. He's told us, Joe, he is a major championship player. This is not technically a major, although the strength of field might resemble one.
Yeah, is this the event? Help correct me if I'm wrong. Where he got injured last year?
That was next week. That was the Open Championship last
Okay.
year.
Okay, so yeah, obviously he's unbelievable in majors. You crank up the difficulty level, you crank up the strength of field, and he's proven to be a hot commodity in any sort of market. So yeah, I don't really necessarily have a take on him one way or the other. Where are you at with Will Z right now? Are you waiting until next week?
No, I think so.
Yeah,
This
maybe
is
everyone's waiting.
this is kind of a gift and a curse for Will Zalatoris, which is like, I'm always an 8 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard for me to get excited because my baseline is generally very excited on Will Zalatoris, right? I love everything about his game. If you look at the putting stroke, it is way different than the actual results, right? Like he makes a lot of those ugly putts that he takes a swipe at. So it's hard for me to be like, no, this is a Zalatoris week when I think any week could be. So it's kind of a gift that I'm usually so excited about it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. He still hasn't gotten that victory, but it feels like it can come in any week on any course.
Stock market was like, hey, you can, like, if the market never ended, I would have 1 billion shares of Will Zalatoris. Right?
Yes.
Like, let me buy the next 10 years of Will Zalatoris. I'll buy all those shares.
Yeah, that's a good point. That'd be a fun way to play it season long. We've mulled around the idea. It's hard to really get it functional, but yeah, we'll take all the Willie Z.
Yeah, guys, not everybody plays every week. You get new guys. Yeah, there's logistics that stop us from being able to do that, but we'll figure it out eventually. A couple of questions from the chat.
Okay.
And this one I think is a really good one for you, Joe. So there's a question here. On average, how many players do you have in your portfolio at the end of IPO?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think that differs for just about everybody. I know people like my brother, for instance, who has 20, 30 guys. I know a lot of people play it that way. For me, I try to stick between 7 and 9 players. I feel like that's probably usually who I end up with. I'll give you who I got at the end of the show here, but I usually try to stick with that. I go for a couple at the top, a couple in the middle, and a couple down low. And really, my expectation is to try and hit the winner, really, because when you get that $25 a share payout, like I was able to do last week, you're almost automatically going to turn a profit when you have that sort of player pool of 7 to 9 guys. If you can get a couple of those lower end penny stocks, $2, $3 to just make the cut and creep inside the top 40, that's only going to help. And you don't have to invest nearly as much in those guys to get 25, 30 shares of them at $2.50. That's usually my strategy, but I don't think that there's necessarily a right or a wrong way to go about it, Rick. I've seen people just get like 2 guys before, and if you hit them both in the top 10 or one of them win, you're going to have a massive ROI for the week.
Yeah, or there's also like, would you rather have 5 shares of 20 golfers or 50 shares of 2 golfers? You know what I mean? Like both of them are 100 shares worth, but it's a lot of it is your personal risk tolerance,
Sure.
what you're willing to take on, how spread out you want to be. So there is not a right answer to this. It's a lot of personal preference. Ken says, do you think there's any weather advantage? So do we want to play the weather meteorologist game here?
You tell me, man, because I've been stuck up in the mountains. I have limited reception outside of this cabin. So you tell me what the weather draw is looking like.
With the caveat that everything changes constantly over there.
Yeah, right.
The way that it appears to me is that late on Thursday, the winds will get a little bit worse. They're going to go from like 8 to 11 miles an hour to 18 to 23 miles an hour, and the gusts are going to get a little bit worse. Now, that might never come. It might come earlier. It might come later. But if it comes like that, what it'll probably do is it'll probably impact the guys that go out after like 1 or 2 o'clock on their back nine. So basically, the first like 75% of the field that goes out, I think, is generally going to be fine. And then the guys that have late Thursday tee times could run into a situation where they get wind for more holes. I don't know if that is actionable enough, Joe. You tell me. If 25% of the field maybe gets more windy conditions for their last 6 to 9 holes, is that actionable enough?
I think it could be. Like you said, it kind of boils down to risk tolerance again. But also, Rick, the beauty of jock market is you can, as the weather changes,
Yeah.
your portfolio can change too. You're not locked into any of these guys. So if you see something come in and you see it starting to play harder and you've got a guy with 17 holes to play and you know the worst of it is to come, you can look to sell those shares. You can also start to pick up shares of guys who are in the morning wave who may have finished around even par, which may have them, like T45, for instance, but it's going to be much harder in the afternoon, and that might be a better score. So the beauty of this game is you can kind of play it as it comes, and you're not locked into something Wednesday night trying to predict the weather for the next 4 days.
Yeah, great point. You're not tied to those guys for any period of time that you don't want to be. So certainly worth keeping an eye on just because of how much it is going to change. So my clock says 8:42 p.m. Eastern time. So we've got about 15 minutes or so until this thing shuts itself down. So make sure you get your bids in. The market is getting much more mature as we go along. You can use the code POWER, get up to 100% instant deposit match. Up to $100. And there's a link in the description there. Here's the big board, Joe. And I've got it sorted by pre-rank here. So we've got some big boys getting out to a good lead, but we've got a couple of guys kind of lagging behind. Colin Morikawa, who's going to defend his Open Championship next week, $4.17. Hideki Matsuyama, Victor Hovland haven't moved off of $1 yet. Those are obviously going to change, but a little slow for the market to spend on these guys.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I have all 3 of those guys favorited. I'm interested in all of them. Hovland, I know the club situation is a little bit worrisome. Obviously, Hideki, I feel like you can always get a decent value on in jock market. And Morikawa is really the interesting one with me because the U.S. Open was unique for him. So he was playing a totally different swing and ball flight. He started playing this draw, which was a little bit uncomfortable with him, but he had 3 really good days at the U.S. Open. If you take away that Saturday 77, and he can maybe get in at like 1 or 2 over par, he does win the U.S. Open. So he's right there. This is that event last year where he made the cut. He struggled. He said he's got to change something up. They didn't have the right tailor-made irons in the bag because they weren't interacting with the North Berwick turf like he wanted. And everyone got scared to play him the following week. And of course, he went out and won. So I do feel like he's a player that is set up well to take his game over to the links of Europe. And I have a lot of interest in him tonight.
Yes, this is Colin Morikawa deception week. This is where he lied to us and got everybody all hot and bothered about his chances at the Open Championship. And then, of course, he goes out and boat races everybody. Okay, so fair enough. I'll refresh this because I can't imagine these guys are going to stay down very long. But if we go just outside the top 10, Joe, Sam Burns, Billy Horschel, Sungjae Im. Burns coming off a couple of okay finishes. I say okay because the T27 at the U.S. Open is always fine. And then he missed the cut at the Travelers Championship. Billy Horschel, who has made news this week for things besides his play, basically more narrative stuff. Is there any movement or any favorites on these 3 tonight?
Yeah, Billy Horschel, I think, is a little bit interesting in that I think he has probably the most experience playing in Europe of the 3. So he has that working for him. Obviously had that big win over at Wentworth last year. Burns, though, I love the upside of Burns, and I realize that he's a volatile option, but if you're willing to sort of take that risk, he's come through with a lot of victories of recent. The approach play is still really good. I was shocked to see that his short game stats are much improved. I think a lot of that hinges on the putting with Sam Burns, but I know that he used to be a really bad chipper, and I think that he's gotten a little bit more proficient in those areas. The U.S. Open, he was really like live heading into Sunday, and he played terrible that day. But on Saturday night, he was in like the third group back, and he was in that. So he didn't necessarily play bad there. Obviously made the run in Canada, made a late run at the Charles Schwab where he ended up winning in the playoffs. So still feel really good. I think he was he second to Xander at the thing in Ireland this week as well?
Yeah. Does that matter to you? Do you care at all
I
about
don't
that?
know. I didn't see any of it, to be honest with you, Rick. I know that you kind of covered it a little bit more. It's always nice to see guys playing good golf, but I don't think I'm going to really necessarily factor it in too much. The pro-ams are always a weird, unusual environment in a 2-day event for pros, but it can't hurt that he played well.
Yeah, it's like one of those, if your guy played well, it's nice to be excited about. If your guy played poorly, it's like, that doesn't matter. So
yeah, you can make the narrative however you want to see it.
Yeah, get whatever you want out of it. Let's flip this back to IPO price here. I've been very bullish on Max Homa this week. I think he is just sporting a stellar stat line. I do worry. Somebody pointed out to me in my live chat earlier today that like he cannot putt in he like just is horrible putter in these big events. And I looked it up. I was like, oh crap. Yeah, he really is. So I'm going to try to fade that this week, but here you start to get to some of the DP World Tour guys, Joe. Ryan Fox has garnered a lot of attention this week. He's currently $4 a share. Lucas Herbert is $4.26 a share, back-to-back fourth place finishes here. Aaron Rise now on the PGA Tour, and McIntyre plays a lot as well. So there's kind of some more unknown entities in this range. Anything stick out to you?
Yeah, reasons I think that you can make to like all of them. Obviously, Bobby Mack with the Scottish narrative coming back home there. Lucas Herbert, I believe in the 3 years that they've played it at the Renaissance Club, is the leader in strokes gained total since they've shifted over to this course. Ryan Fox, it's hard to ignore like his finishes. Obviously, the closing bogey last week that really didn't end up mattering, but at the time it felt like it would. But his recent, I mean, you're not going to see it there because we're just pulling PGA Tour data, but first, 15th, 9th, 8th, second, third, second, like the guy is on absolute fire right now, which I think is a testament to how well he's really playing. And traditionally, he's a guy throughout his career who you wanted to back him on these exposed link style golf courses, much like we see this week. He's playing so well right now. I don't think it matters where he tees it up, but this is where he's cut his cloth on the European Tour. And I look for him. I can't imagine that it doesn't continue this week. I don't know where the price point ends up and where that break even point will end up being, but I expect him to play well. Once again, he's in great form.
Yeah, that's I believe it's 8 straight top 8 finishes on the DP World Tour, but you're not seeing that here because we did not have cash markets for those, obviously, not PGA Tour events. Going a little bit further down the board here, Joe, I mean, Brandon Grace is fresh off a win on the Live Tour. He's $3.50. He's more expensive than Terrell Hatton, Brian Harmon, Mito Pereira. I mean, we've got tours converging this week and trying to figure out who's playing better than the others. It feels like a fool's errand.
It's crazy because I'm getting in like spurts of service. And I'm trying to keep up with everything that's going on. And it's difficult right now, but you've got these guys. Obviously, Grace played really well last week. I was able to catch most of the final round of the Live coverage. And it was different, but it wasn't bad. Like it was kind of interesting to me. So this may be, I don't know what this means for the rest of the events, if they're able to continue this path toward litigation and getting themselves into the field. I'm probably going to shift away. I mean, there's some other guys. I mean, Callum Tarrant played awesome last week. 6th at the John Deere. He's really good. Like he's long off the tee and really, I believe top 10 in driving distance. Victor Perez has had some good finishes here in the low $6 range. Terrell Hatton is like one of those weird anomalies where it almost doesn't matter that his current form is terrible, but you get him on a links course, 2-time winner of the Alfred Dunhill. He's got a second at the Scottish Open, where I believe was at Castle Stewart. So yeah, he just shows up here, and this is sort of his fit, right? At the type of player profile that he positioned himself to be.
Callum Tarrant specifically, a winner in 4 of his last 6 markets, big winner the last time we saw him. Let's continue to go deeper here. Still a lot of value. I scrolled past a couple of Molinari brothers. Both of them are in this field. Matt Wallace, who has, popped at times, and he's been a winner in 2 of his last 3. I mean, if you want to go to Patty Harrington, who won on the senior tour and has 2 top 20s in a row at this event. I mean, there's no shortage of reasonable options, especially as we get, sub $2 here for the moment.
Yeah, Ryan Palmer's played well over here in the past. Danny Willett has always been really good on links courses. Matt Wallace that you mentioned is an interesting one to me because he struggled a little bit of late on the PGA Tour, but I believe a 5th at the Dutch Open. He's got his last 3 events on the European Tour have all been top 38 finishes. So at that $2 price point, you get him through the cut line, and he's another guy that's just really cut his cloth, like I mentioned earlier, on these European style golf courses. This is where he made his run and won like 4 events in whatever half a year on the European Tour. So hopefully this will bring some good vibes for him, and he's playing decent golf over there as well, right at the $2 price point now.
All right, let me reset us here for a second because it's 8:51 p.m. Eastern time. So that means we've got just a few minutes to go until this thing really starts to heat up and then eventually end just before 9 p.m. Eastern time. If you haven't deposited yet, the code you're looking for, POWER, there is indeed a link in the description. And we flip back to the top of the board here, and Scotty Scheffler, I think he's been that $9 for a while, Joe, right? We haven't seen that move just in the last.
Maybe it was one of those ones that we see quite often where somebody puts in the early shares and it just kind of lingers there. Interesting to see Jon Rahm kind of vault into that second place. He's only now trailing Scheffler by 11 cents. So maybe he's the one that this week where we always think that the sentiment isn't quite there and he's a little bit quiet, but this market obviously brings that to light if we see him end up in that top 1 or 2 spot.
Yeah, so now Jon Rahm just 11 cents a share behind Scotty Scheffler. He's 888. JT right in the middle there, 847. Xander Schauffele, $8 a share. And it doesn't seem like there is much concern about Matt Fitzpatrick because he's the 5th most expensive golfer in this market, 757 at the moment. Here's a name we haven't talked about, and now he's the 6th most expensive guy in the market. It's Patrick Cantlay. Basically broke you even at the Travelers. He was a winner at the U.S. Open, a winner at the Memorial. It's not a major, Joe. So does that mean we're buying shares of Patrick Cantlay?
I feel like I'm always chasing the tail on Patrick Cantlay, and I just can't get him right. So I'll probably be off of him again tonight just because whenever I have shares of him, he doesn't seem to play well. He's that guy for me that I can't pinpoint.
All right, Joe, I'm going to let you get out of here because this is the part of the show where Joe goes and makes his bids, and then we rendezvous and we check out his portfolio. So, Joe, good luck, brother.
Thanks, man.
Okay, so 8:53 p.m. Eastern time on my clock. So here's what's going to happen. At about 8:57, we are going to enter a 90-second window. That 90-second window, this IPO can close at any moment. That randomizes things. It keeps it fair for everybody. So we are at minimum 4 minutes away from this ending, at maximum like 6 minutes away from this ending. And then shares are going to be allocated, portfolios are going to be dictated, and then we are going to enter the live trading portion of this. So let me refresh the big board as I take you the rest of the way here and give you the updated by the second prices on these golfers for this week's Scottish Open. Here we go. Jon Rahm has done it. He has just surpassed Scotty Scheffler as the most expensive golfer in tonight's Jock market, $9.19. To put that into perspective, Rahm was $9.66 at the U.S. Open, $9.55 at the Memorial. Scotty Scheffler, who has been sitting on $9 for basically 15 minutes, still sits at $9 a share. That's essentially asking him to finish, 14th or better, something like that. Justin Thomas right behind. Now, JT has an important designation in the pre-rank. It's number 1. That means he breaks all ties. Talked about that earlier. Still very much the case. $8.88. He is $1.50 below his fair value at the moment. So I imagine we are going to see a run on Justin Thomas coming very, very soon. And I also think we're going to get a run on Xander Schauffele. It's really hard to turn down a guy who's got 2 wins in his last 6 starts. If you want to throw in the Pro-Am stuff from earlier this week, that's fine as well. A top 10 at this event last year. Xander's just got basically everything going on. And at $8.65 already, that is the most expensive he's been since the Zozo championship. Yeah, it's been a while since Xander's been this expensive, and it is rightfully deserved. Matt Fitzpatrick and Patrick Cantlay are the only two golfers in the $7 range, with Cam Smith trying to get into that range himself. He's $6.97 per share at the moment. Let me give this a little bit of a refresh before I get down there. I want to see what Hideki is doing. I want to see what Zalatoris is doing and see if those guys are making a little bit of a move here like I think they are. And they are. Hideki's up to 650. Zalatoris just jumped a bunch of guys. Now 723. Justin Thomas just surpassed Scotty Scheffler. So this market is getting mature very, very quickly. 8:55 p.m. Eastern time by my clock. So not a lot of time left to go here. Sam Burns and Colin Morikawa are trying to move up the board. I still think there's a lot of value on Max Homa. Maybe I will just go down with the Max Homa ship this week, but I'll be happy to do so. Corey Connors is 10 cents per share more expensive than Victor Hovland, who is just 5 cents per share more expensive than Tommy Fleetwood. Ryan Fox, who's been getting a ton of respect, is still about 50 cents away from his fair value tonight. So he's $5.49 per share right now. Fair value $6.07. That's basically asking him to finish 27th or better. So you're still basically, as of right now, asking Ryan Fox to finish like 30th or better, something like that, pretty close to it. Aaron Rai won this event 2 years ago. He's $5.08. We're looking for a little bit of value down here. Maverick McNeely coming off of a really good week. Last week, he was $6.88. He's now only $3.95 per share. So maybe you can buy low and see if he can continue that momentum from last week. A couple other guys down at the bottom of the board that we've talked about. Victor Perez is $3 a share. David Lipsky, who I believe had himself a very good week last week, $2.98. And yeah, Lipsky did. He returned you 37% ROI last week. Let me give the big board a refresh. My clock says 8:57. So we are likely just into that 90-second window in which this IPO can close. So this thing's about to end literally any second. And as it does, Justin Thomas just made a big move to the number one most expensive golfer. So now he is 40 cents clear of Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, the only three golfers over $9 a share. And Xander Schauffele has carved out a nice little spot all to himself at 875. The rest of the board filling in nicely here. Patrick Cantlay and Matt Fitzpatrick are both $7.75. Victor Hovland got through the $6 mark. That's always nice to see. Hideki Matsuyama trying to get through $6.75. Jordan Spieth, who we haven't spent much oxygen on, $6.54. That's pretty cheap for Jordan Spieth. His price does move all over the place, but Spieth at $6.54, the 16th pre-ranked golfer, certainly worth noting. I'm going to try to steal another refresh here. 8:58, we're in it. This thing can close at any second. So I'm going to try to steal a refresh and see what happens. Okay. JT, we're still open. Justin Thomas, still the most expensive golfer. Scotty Scheffler just surpassed Jon Rahm, which means the 1, 2, and 3 pre-ranked golfers are now 1, 2, and 3 in tonight's cash market. Number 4 is Patrick Cantlay. He is not the 4th most expensive golfer. There's actually a value on some of the top 10 golfers like Hideki Matsuyama and Victor Hovland if you buy into those guys. The board has not switched much, except Keith Mitchell just got a big boost. He's now $5.55 a share. He's the 20th pre-ranked golfer. He's still $1 below his fair value. So he's asking about 30th or better for a guy who's done that in 3 straight starts. Let me try one more refresh here because I think we're up against it. I think we're just moments away from this thing shutting down. Will we get anyone through the $10 mark? The answer is not yet. Not yet. Justin Thomas still $9.69. Scotty Scheffler $9.50. Here comes Xander. Xander's trying to get into the mix, $8.99. So certainly some late bids coming in on Xander. It's $8.59. This thing's almost over. Will Zalatoris up to $7.86. Sam Burns at $7.08. I'm going to try one more refresh. Let's do it. I think we might be done. Let's see. Hold on.
No, we're still rolling. I just got one
live.
in.
We're still live. Let's see if I can sneak it. I think we're done now.
Yep.
Okay. Shut it down. IPO is closed. Shut it down. There was a late run on Xander, Joe.
Yeah, I had some, I believe, right at 889, I think, that I got outbid on at the very end. So I lost a couple of guys up at the top. There was a lot of movement. It doesn't look like anybody ended up able to clear that $10 mark, I don't think.
Okay, yeah, we're going to let the dust settle here. We're going to let my big board refresh. We're going to get Joe's portfolio in just 1 second. The code you're looking for to deposit power. So make sure to go ahead and put that in, or there's a link in the description. Okay, Joe, if you have your golfers ready, I will take them right now.
You got it. Colin Morikawa.
There you go.
808 per share. Moving down, I got Victor Hovland shares at 615. So you give me the scoop. He does not have his clubs, correct?
Correct. He does not have.
What does that mean to you? Does that mean it's foolish to have shares of him, or do they just have like a ping truck there ready to get him a backup?
Yeah, luckily they knew, 2 days ago that his clubs were in Frankfurt. So Ping has gotten him an identical set to his specs, which is not always the same, but he's gonna have his specs there.
We'll see. Maybe I got a discount. He's already trading. The projection is at 810, and I got him for 615. So positive ROI at the moment before this thing kicks off, which doesn't mean much. Moving down, I did get shares of Ryan Fox, who we talked about at 552. Then I went down with a bunch of guys in the lower mark, starting with Justin Rose. Rosie over the last 2 months, I believe third in the PGA Tour in strokes gained total. So he's really kind of turned things around. He's making another little push toward the end of his career here. I did get shares of Ricky Fowler, who I spoke about. I felt obligated because he was only $3.20, and I said I was bullish at like 4 or something, so I had to. Matt Wallace was $293. Rasmus Højgaard, $250. Haotong Lee, John Catlin, and Guido Migliozzi. A bunch of guys who are familiar playing over there, who were in the mid $2, low $2 range, that really they need to finish like 55th or better. So I squeeze them through the cut. Maybe one of them finishes top 25, and that should make for a good week.
Guido, Catlin, Haotong, Rasmus, Matt Wallace, Ricky Fowler, Rosie, Ryan Fox, Victor, Colin, and that is Joe's portfolio. That feels pretty big, Joe. I love this.
Yeah, ended up with 10 guys who I know. He asked me the question earlier, and I said 7 to 9, and I ended up with 10. But I lost Xander shares. I lost some Justin Thomas shares who I had in there throughout the process. So it gave me a little bit more money, and I just decided to add a couple of guys down in the penny stock range.
TJ's got Colin, Cam Smith, Adrian Moronk, Jordan Smith. I almost said Jordan Smith. Callum Tarrant, Chris Kirk said he missed out on JT and Max Homa at the end. Brent got Xander, Billy, KH Lee, Joel Damon, Ian Poulter, David Lipsky, Sepp Straka, Stuart Sink, and M. Jordan.
Who's M. Jordan? Michael
Jordan. He plays golf now. Victor Hovland, Jordan Spieth, Rasmus, and Brian Harmon for Dylan Kramer. Okay.
All right, Dylan.
Good portfolios out there. Let's unveil the big board, see what happens here. So you're right, Joe. Nobody got over $10. $9.69 for Justin Thomas, $9.55 for Scotty Scheffler, $9.21 for John Rahm. So golfers 1, 2, and 3 finished 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, well, it looks like I just didn't quite have enough in on Xander. Probably should have gone with a $9 bid and would have got him. Really wanted him this week. Yeah, everything looks kind of aligned to, I guess, Matt Fitzpatrick was the big jump from fair value, but I think it was kind of expected given his form and what we expect to see out of him this week. Victor was the one, it looks like, inside the top 10 that was the lowest price.
Cheapest top 10 golfer, Victor Hovland, 618, nearly $2 a share below his fair value. So 615 is like 25th or better. You're asking out of Victor Hovland for this week. Matt Fitzpatrick, good to see that people didn't let the narrative drive their bidding tonight, right? It's like, oh, the guy just won the US Open. He's probably been celebrating. It's like, no. We're going to buy him up. I think this is good. I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, happy to see that as well. I think that's the right take on him.
Let's see what else we have here. Ryan Fox and Billy Horschel went for the exact same price, $552. That's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Try to see if anybody really jumps out. I don't know. This looks pretty darn fair, Joe.
Yeah, who was that at like 145? Oh, that's Moronk who won last week.
Right here.
Yeah, okay. Yep. That seems about right. I mean, obviously played really well. That pre-rank's probably a little off based on, his PGA Tour starts.
I'll be interested to see what McNeely does. Obviously somebody I was very bullish on the entire year. finally played well, and then you got like a $2 discount on him, $2.50 discount on him. I'll be interested to see what McNeely does.
Yeah, I'm interested in Fleetwood too. Like him and Victor was like the decision for me there. I went with Victor. I have second guesses about it, just not really know just because the incoming form. Maybe he needed to lose those clubs.
Maybe.
Maybe this new set will do him some favors and he'll get back to the ball striking wizard that we saw out of the early season for him. But Fleetwood, obviously, great course history here. You don't have to win, which I think is important when you talk about Tommy Fleetwood. And I think that he lost in a playoff to Aaron Rye 2 years ago at this event. So knows the course well, has played well here before. Those were two interesting, like right around the same price guys for me.
Live trading starts right now. It's already started, and the event is going to start in 5 hours. So I tell you what, if you're willing to stay up, if you're out there and willing to stay up and watch like the morning wave, there might be some opportunities out there depending on what you see while everybody else is sleeping.
Yeah, listen, set that alarm clock for what is it, 2:30, 3 a.m. and do some trading, right? Make a little money. I'm sure that people will leave a couple hanging out there who are sound asleep. Maybe you can steal some good opportunities.
That's true. It might happen. Okay. Well, same time, same place next week. And Joe, there's a little tournament going on. I think I've heard of it. The Open Championship, the 150th version of it at St. Andrews. I could not be more excited about it. And we have seen basically every single one of these major markets has been bigger than the last. So I imagine we're going to get an absolute monster market.
Yeah, Jock Market is going to have some awesome contests and promotions out there available. If you have not checked this thing out yet, be wise to use the promo code POWER and get a couple dollars in there right now, up to $100 deposit match. But I can't wait, Rick. Like, we know St. Andrews is that course for me, like outside of Augusta National, that I feel like I know every hole and like I remember them, and you have such vivid memories. Plus the fact that like it feels like this may be the last hurrah where we get all these guys. Like, we just don't know. Like, where are we going to be able to see DJ and Brooks and Bryson and these guys still continue to compete? That's to be seen. We're going to the home of golf. They will all be there next week, and so will we on Wednesday night for another Power Hour.
Follow Joe on Twitter. He's available at Tour Picks. You can find me at RickRunGood. Open Championship next week. We'll see you then. Good luck.